Welcome to my latest experiment. This is the big one, the one I've been waiting for all my life.
What is it?
Try to imagine all life as you know it stopping instantaneously and every molecule in your body exploding at the speed of light.
Oh my God.
The cream will rise to the top, oh yeah.
And I am the voice of the voiceless.
And there is no one that does it better.
The Guy and Harley podcast, streaming all over your face.
Perhaps that was the most important part.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Pigville on the internet. Hate it or love it, the underdog's on top, and I'm gonna shine homie until my heart stop. Welcome to the Guy and Harley podcast. I'm Guy Pigden.
And I'm Harley Neville. That was very inspiring. Which poet was that by?
That was 50 Cent.
50 cents.
50 cents. Or the game featuring 50 Cent, but he did the hook, which that is part of the hook.
Right.
Yeah.
I was under the impression that the game and 50 Cent hated each other now.
They do now.
It was back in the day.
It was partly over that particular song, which was one of the game's most successful songs. Basically, it boils down to 50 Cent felt like he kind of sort of made the game.
Yeah.
Because I think the four biggest songs off his first album, which was under G Unit, which is 50 Cent's label, the first, his sort of four biggest ones, 50 Cent co-wrote or wrote the hooks for.
Right.
And then sort of later on, the game was kind of like, yeah, I did it all myself, Compton, Dr. Dre, and 50 Cent was like, well, hang on a sec, and the game was quite a hothead.
Yeah.
From the mean streets.
Yeah.
And so he kind of flew off the handle. Fuck G Unit. He wrote a bunch of diss songs, and that sort of fallout has lasted approximately, 7 years, 8 years.
Yep. And we know who got the last laugh, though, because 50 Cent is, still pretty established, whereas the game seems to have dropped off the radar a little bit. He released that album under his own label, right? Yeah,
they both kind of dropped off the radar, to be honest. They both sort of fallen out of relevancy to a degree. Game's second album was quite good, and then his other two weren't, and 50 Cent, sort of the law of diminishing returns, each album less and less successful, and the last two 50 Cent albums, although he still makes hit singles with other people, and he still sort of does get radio play, his sort of albums as a cohesive whole are much worse than they once were.
So there you go. If you were wondering what's been happening with that obscure rapper from the mid 2000s,
I want to say, he did sell.
I'm talking about the game, not 50 Cent. 50 cents is not obscure.
I was going to say he did make $400 million on his vitamin waters.
Yeah. So there you go. See, look, you never know what you're going to get on the Guy and Harley podcast. A little bit of hip hop history.
Yeah, throw a bit of a curveball at you there.
Anyway,
so today, I just wanted to say a little something. We are live on iTunes now. We fixed all our problems with typos.
Yep.
So if you're an iTunes listener, you can download us. And we'll be releasing it hopefully at the same time as the one on our Libsyn. So, if you get it there, and if you do listen to this podcast and enjoy it, the best way to help us, write a review on iTunes. Give us a 5-star review on iTunes. That means more people see it, more people listen to it, and we can keep doing this. We can keep the lights on. And I say that this is costing us money. And I don't foresee it not costing us money for quite a long time.
No, yeah.
But the only way that it will maybe one day not cost us money is if you give us a 5-star review on iTunes.
So basically, us fucking losers with our shit podcast are begging you to give us a 5-star review. So if you could do that, that'd be good.
And in fairness, this is a request that a lot of podcasts make.
Right.
So if you enjoy the show, that's how you can help us out at this stage. Also by, of course, writing in with questions for us to talk about.
Yes, please do. pigvilleproductions@hotmail.com, or find us on Facebook, Pigville Productions, and send us your questions. We'll turn it into content.
Which leads us to our first topic, which is horror films. I am a horror film enthusiast. How about yourself?
Oh, Oh, well, I'm not huge on them.
Would you even call yourself a film enthusiast?
Well, not an enthusiast. No, enthusiast is such a strong word, isn't it? I've more got like a passing fancy. It's
a flight of fancy that you spend all your time and money doing, but not watching.
Not really watching. Well, see, that's the thing. It's not that it's not that I dislike films. I do like them. I like creating them, and I like seeing something that I've imagined become, sort of a reality and get turned into something tangible that you can actually watch. I really enjoy that side of things. I enjoy acting. I enjoy all of that stuff. I enjoy the creative side of things, but I don't really love
watching the motherfucker.
That much, like some of them, some of them. I watched The Theory of Everything yesterday, and it was really good. I really, really enjoyed it.
And I said at the time, I was like, trust you, the fucking science nerd, to the only film that you go to, like the only film in like months.
Oh, last time we went to the cinema was a year ago, probably.
is one about fucking old Stephen Hawking.
Yeah. Well, the guy...
Fucking old robot voice.
The guy is answering the big questions here, man. This is important stuff he's thinking about.
Yeah. Well. Anyway, our first topic, horror films, and we were asked by listener Liam
Hegarty of the band Laura Palmer.
Yes.
So look him up. Look up Laura Palmer. They're a
listen to their music.
Melbourne-based punk act that currently, I believe, about to go on a tour around Europe.
Right.
So look them up, Laura Palmer.
Well, yeah, he is a bit of a horror film enthusiast himself. He said, give us your top 10 horror films. And we can't do that because it's going to take too long for me to list 10. So we've narrowed it down to 5 and a bit. Mm-hmm. I've got 5 and a couple more.
I've got 3 and two halves.
Well, that's right. So
it evens out.
So I'll be interested to know if you even have watched some of my ones specifically.
I can tell you straight away that I haven't. Now, like the thing for me about horror films is that I don't mind them. But I guess, like, ever since I was a kid, I never really enjoyed the feeling of being scared, you know? So when I was a kid and I was watching a scary film and getting scared, I wasn't like, oh, this is fun. This is something I want to keep doing into my adult life. Yeah. As soon,
Sure.
So I just avoided that, Like, I avoided horror films pretty much from the word go. And so, yeah, I'm not huge on them.
Well, they say that why people like horror films is that because fear is only a few degrees away from elation.
Right.
And also the idea that basically it's one of the few safe environments where you can be scared. Like most of the time our sort of, our fight or flight instincts, when they kick in, it's because we're in danger of losing our lives, which is horrible, or danger of just some threat. Yeah. And it's awful. Whereas when you go see a horror film, you're completely safe. But you can be scared. You can feel that feeling over and over again and not have those repercussions of someone stabbing you at the end.
And so it all makes sense if you think about it. I don't like horror films because on the mean streets of South Dunedin, I was only ever a few degrees away from elation.
At all times.
At all times on the...
being shanked.
Yeah, so it all makes sense, actually. There's science behind this, people.
It does. So do you want to list your...
Well, yeah.
Or do you want to hear from the master first?
Well, one of yours and one of mine, eh?
Okay.
All right,
okay.
So you go first.
So my top one, number one. And I also like to say that I didn't pick necessarily the films that I found the scariest, or, that I thought were the most chilling. I picked my favorite films just purely that I enjoy, whether that is because I rewatch them all the time because I think they're a great contribution to the genre, but it's not necessarily because they're all scary. In fact, I'd say a couple of them aren't actually that scary.
Yeah.
And the first one is The Shining. Now, The Shining, of course, is sort of a classic nowadays, and I think what's so great about it is that Stanley Kubrick didn't really understand horror films, I don't think, when he made the film, or he had the greatest understanding of them, one of the two, because he basically broke every sort of single rule. The score is kind of weird and out there, but it's not a traditional horror score at all. It's, full of kind of weird, like, wind chimes or some... I don't even know some of the stuff some of the instruments being used, but you know, it's completely the opposite of most horror films. Probably 70 or maybe even 80% of the film is in broad daylight, which is another big no-no. It's shot with a lot of use of wide angles, very large open spaces. Again, completely the opposite of what normal horror films do. And then there's only one person dies in it in the whole film.
Well, that's not true. There's two.
Who's the
There's
second?
the black man who gets hit in the stomach with the axe,
yep.
and then there's the Jack Nicholson.
Jack. Well, I
Yeah.
guess if you count Jack, that's true. That's
Yeah.
two. But, you know, in terms of like...
I'm here to fact check this shit.
Man. I guess I didn't count him because he is the villain. So
Yeah.
you wouldn't say in a normal horror film when the villain dies, that's one of the horror deaths, would you?
Yes. Well, it's not a niggle about the technicalities, man. There's two deaths in that film.
So anyway, and I think that what makes it so great and so enduring is because he did break all those rules, and you know, that's like a real breath of fresh air, which is kind of what we talked about in previous podcasts, where you challenge, and he challenged sort of every convention and did it all differently, and it just worked exceptionally well. And I don't actually think it's like a super scary film, but just for Jack Nicholson's performance, the way it was shot, and just this kind of, just that creepy, unnerving thing, like you just know that he's going to flip out and go crazy at some stage. It's just a matter of when, and it's just very, very disturbing. It's one of those films that just gets in your brain, and it just stays there. And that is one of my favorite films of all time, full stop. And I frequently go back to watch it just because there's so many layers to sort of peel back, and so many things that you can notice each time you watch it. So that's my first one.
All right. Well, fuck. Mine would be a lot shorter than that.
Well, that's probably a good thing.
Yeah, it's probably a good thing. All right. Over to Harley. 28 days later.
28 days later.
Big fan.
I thought you were going to put this in your list.
Yep.
It's not in mine.
No.
Why do you think that is good?
Well, I feel like they did the zombies right because they made them actually scary. And what I'm looking for in a zombie film is I want it to be kind of as close to real life as possible. So I'm not so much about the exploding heads and the funny, gory kills and stuff
You mean
in a
the
zombie
stuff that
film.
we did?
The stuff that we did in I Survived a Zombie Holocaust. That's not really my cup of tea. I'm more looking for real life.
That shit's cheesy.
See, what I'm looking for is what I really enjoy about zombie films in particular is imagining what our society would do when it does collapse. That's the bit that really appeals to me.
I 100% agree.
And that's what I really like to see. I like to see the characters going through that transition from like civilization to the, you know, post-apocalyptic world. You know, that's what I really enjoy sort of seeing, and coming on that journey with them, and seeing them have to make that decision to shoot their mum in the face because she's a zombie now, you know, and all that type of stuff. And so what I really want from a zombie film is I want sort of realistic. I want to believe that this could happen, and that this is how it would happen. And they did that in 28 Days Later, you know, like slow shuffling zombies, not very dangerous, but fast zombies that can spread it just by getting blood on you.
Yep.
You know, well, that's a lot more realistic. It's a lot more dangerous. It would spread a lot quicker.
Yep.
Also, they're not true zombies. They're not, you know, shuffling Walking Dead, which is a lot more, or a lot less sort of, you know, likely to happen in real life. They are virus infected rage zombies, you know, which is much closer to real life. So yeah, I really enjoyed that film because I believed it, I bought it, and I thought the performances were really good, and that's sort of my reasoning behind that one. 28 Days Later.
And I think it also delves into the fascination that we have with the end of the world.
Yeah.
And why something like The Walking Dead is so popular, because essentially they're exploring your idea spread out, you know, even more so. And I think that we're all sort of, and I think that they've sort of come back into vogue, these post-apocalyptic films, to a degree, in part thanks to 28 Days Later. Absolutely. And 28 Days Later did change the genre, the zombie genre, forever.
Yeah.
Because they kind of, even though there had been fast-moving zombies in other films, that whole kind of speedy, freaky zombie was just not a thing.
Yeah.
And they brought that in. So, good choice.
Yep. Thank you.
So
I'm going to grab a cup of tea, and you ramble on 5 minutes about your next one, eh?
So, my second choice is The Exorcist, which I saw when I saw this at the cinema, when they re-released it back in, I think, sort of maybe 99, around that time, or maybe a bit before, and I think it was the 20th or 30th anniversary at the time, and still holds up. Still incredibly freaky, and I think, you know, it has everything that you want out of a horror film, which is a slow build full of character development, you know, punctuated with these moments of like terror, but also just that, again, that same thing that Shining did so well, that sense of creeping dread, that unease that is just slowly building up, because you can see this possession take hold of this person, and you can see all these weird things, and just these like little glimpses of the demon, you know, in certain shots and stuff. You're like, fuck, what did I just see? And I will say that, like, I think this applies to most horror films. It's like, you might not find The Exorcist scary if you watch it on your television. Most horror films just do not have the same impact unless you go see it at the cinema. But I mean, obviously The Exorcist is considered one of the greats, and I think that, you know, it has all that great stuff, and then when the shit hits the fan, the shit fucking hits the fan. She's fucking herself with a crucifix, her head's spinning, fucking, you know, right round. She's vomiting and
walking
shit.
down the stairs all backwards like a spider.
You know, she's fucking up priests. I mean, it's just all great stuff, and it's all thanks to that build up and that climax. It's just exceptional, and also it's not, you know, it's a very down ending, but in a great way. And so I think that, yeah, it's a classic, and it deserves to be Exorcist. That's my number 2.
Well, also, one thing about sort of possession and demon movies is they're real scary because, you know, it just kind of feels like it could happen to you. You know, it could happen to anyone. It's a demon, right? It can go, if it can possess anybody, it can possess you.
Yeah.
You know, which gives it that real life kind of fear, you know, that sort of like, ugh.
Plus, there's been so many sort of accounts of this type of thing happening.
Anecdotal accounts.
I'm just saying, though, that, like, you know, most people don't talk, like, you know, there's no anecdotal accounts of people fighting zombies.
Well, no, zombies are a real thing.
Do you mean like the voodoo zombies?
Yeah, the voodoo zombies.
Yeah, okay. I'm more talking about 28 Days Later zombies.
Yeah. But you can see the core of like where these are made, you know?
Yes, yeah.
It's just that, like, yeah.
But whereas they're, you know, they have these, you know, cases, you know, where these people are actually, in theory, possessed, and they get in the priests and whatever. Now, they're probably just schizophrenic and just lost the plot.
They're definitely just schizophrenic.
Look, hey, mate, were you in the room? Can't say for sure then, can you?
Yeah. There's no such thing as demons.
Well, you know, all I'm saying is Mulder and Scully, isn't it? Mulder and Scully.
I'm definitely Scully.
So what's the next one?
All right, The Japanese Grudge. I liked that because it was very scary. I found it very creepy. It was an original idea, and I liked how, you know, you see her a lot. You see the bad guy. You like, it's not like those American style, like, you know, a big loud noise and a jump cut to something, you know, type scares. It was like, you know, you could see her like very plainly on screen sometimes, and for like quite long shots.
Yep.
And it didn't make it any less scary. Like, it was still real creepy.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed that, and you know, plus the creepy
yeah,
you know.
And I mean, obviously horror films, great horror films, are often all about the sound design, and that sound design is just so haunting, and that, I mean, that's almost become a thing.
Yeah.
Where you just want to freak someone out. You just go up to them and go, and everyone hates it.
Plus, there was lots of good reveals as well, like really good reveals of the baddie, like in places where you don't expect to see a ghost, you know.
Also,
and on the Japanese one as well, they were done more practically,
right?
You know, as opposed to the American one where it was like computers and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, like they did things like, you know, whatever, you know, you open it, there's a door with a reflection on it, the door opens, then when the door closes, the ghost is suddenly, you can see the reflection of the ghost, you know, but you know that they did it practically. They made the actor stand in the appropriate place as the door was closing, you know, and that's cool and scarier.
Well, there's the thing too, and I think to my memory of it was that the curse was just a real fucking freaky curse as well. The idea of like, and it doesn't really stop.
Yeah.
It's never ending.
Yeah.
That really freaked me the fuck out as well. So, yep, another good choice.
All right.
Number 3 for me, one of my favorite directors, John Carpenter. Obviously, he is a bit of a horror maestro, and is famous for his horror films. My favorite of his is The Thing. Have you seen that?
I haven't seen that.
I think
Is
you'd
that
enjoy
like
it.
really, really old? And is it about some sort of swamp zombie?
Oh my god! No, it's not about a swamp
Is it about some people in a like in the Antarctic or something?
The swamp zombie's the creature from the Black Lagoon.
That's what I'm thinking of. And what is it? Is this one about? So is it they're in the Antarctic and they're in a base?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
the one.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
And you know, I think it's great. I mean, it has these amazing practical effects, which, you know, obviously sorely missing in movies today. Again, because basically the thing assimilates human beings or animals, it can be anyone. So the whole, again, that idea of paranoia of who the fuck is the thing? How do we know who the thing is? There's, you know, 10 men here, and any one of them or more than one of them could be this alien thing. And also, again, setting it, you know, in the middle of nowhere in Alaska or Antarctica or wherever it was. Again, that whole sense of like, it's bitterly cold outside. If you walk outside for, you know, 10 minutes, you're dead.
Yeah.
Right. So you're going nowhere. And, you know, even that sense of like everyone's just going kind of a little bit stir crazy before this thing happens. There's a scene where Kurt Russell is playing chess with a computer, and he loses a game of chess, and then he just tips his whole thing of whiskey into the computer, and it kind of explodes. He's like, yeah, fuck you, sort of thing. And it's just like, yeah, when you just start to lose a plot a little bit, there's just something great about that. Another great down ending. Won't spoil it for you. I think you'd enjoy that film.
All right. I might have seen it.
It is really good. And then also the practical creature effects, again, were just so, at the time, fucking freaky. And so disturbing, and also some like unexpected. You're just like, what the fuck is this thing doing? And it's really just excellent all round. And also, you know, dogs getting killed on film. You know, I love dogs. Don't like to see it happen, but you know, the very fact that it never happens and it happens in this film, like right off the bat, you're kind of like, fuck. Well, this is going to be different.
What, they literally kill a dog?
A dog gets infected by the thing and gets completely messed up.
But what do you mean?
So first they
kill a dog like in real life?
Well, what do you mean in real life?
What was you know, like could they kill a dog on camera or something?
Yes.
In real life, they kill the dog, but on camera.
Yeah, I mean, obviously,
like in Cannibal Holocaust or whatever.
No,
where they're murdering animals.
It's a film.
Oh well, fuck. Who cares? Stop talking about dogs dying on. I thought you were talking about that actually killed the dog.
No.
All right.
Why would they do that?
Oh, the same
Not
reason
monsters.
they did it in Cannibal Holocaust.
Jesus Christ. No, I mean, the fact that a dog dies on film is like, that doesn't actually happen. Most of the time, dogs survive. Except for Marley and Me. Spoiler alert.
Or Old Yeller. Spoiler alert.
Marley and Me was a remake of Old Yeller.
Oh, was it?
No.
See? So here's what I know.
What's next on your list?
All right. Well, this one's a bit of a like... Quarantine, the American version of Wreck.
Disgusted. Already.
Now, the thing is, I think that the reason why I liked this film so much was because I went to see it with literally no idea what to expect. Like, a friend just called me up and was like, I've got a spare ticket to a movie. I won some tickets. Do you want to come? And I was like, yeah, man, I've got nothing to do.
Yeah.
And I went along and I had, like, no idea except for the name Quarantine. That was it. I hadn't heard a thing about it, didn't see a poster. It could have been a romance.
Right.
That's all I knew. Like, I had no idea.
Yeah.
What it was, and then on came this like cool kind of once again realistic zombie film with a realistic zombie virus that could potentially happen in real life, you know, and it was just a very real zombie film and with good kills in it as well. So all of that made me really, really enjoy it. But I think it was because I just had no idea what to expect. Sat down in the cinema and saw something.
Good. Well, I kind of felt that way when I saw it. Because I saw Wreck in the cinema over in London, which Quarantine is a remake of. Now, to be honest, there's very little between the two. Like, they are almost beat for beat the same. Like, literally, Quarantine is nicking shots left and right.
Yeah.
The thing that I didn't like about Quarantine is that they never acknowledged that they were doing that.
Right.
Like, all the director, writer, and all that were talking about the film as if they just made this film.
Right.
It's like, hang on, no. Not only are you remaking a film, you are stealing 80% of the shots from that film.
Yeah.
And that's what your film is. So please at least maybe just say one time, oh yeah, it's a remake of the Spanish film. And, it's a good choice. I think that was, again, did kind of repopularize the found footage concept as well. And
yeah, well, that was probably the only found footage film that I've actually enjoyed as well. I don't really like those.
Well, I think it's a great example of,
I left Blair Witch Project made me feel sick. I felt a little bit seasick. I was like, fuck this.
You're such a pussy. You're such a pussy. You do get nauseous over every tiny little thing.
Well, it's all that wiggling around.
I can't
it's all that
believe
movement.
I
went surfing once.
You get car sick. You went surfing. You got sick.
I got seasick when I was surfing one time.
Surfing.
Hey man, it's very wavy out there. There's lots of waves.
There's
and
waves
shit.
and there's rocking. Yeah, it's the sea. That's the idea. It's the sea.
So yeah,
Yeah. Well,
Blair Witch wasn't for me.
I'm surprised that didn't happen in Quarantine then.
Yeah.
Well, on to my next pick. Nightmare on Elm Street.
Mm-hmm.
Nightmare on Elm Street. Again, I don't think that as a film, as a whole, even though it's probably one of the scariest of the, 7 or 8 Nightmare on Elm Streets, it's the concept that's scary. Like something coming to kill you in your dreams. If you think about it, obviously there's that whole myth that if you die in your dreams, you die in real life. There is some degree of truth to it, only in the sense that, for instance, if you're asleep and you're suffocating, you dream that you're suffocating. And then if you suffocate in real life, then you will be dead. So, when we think about dying, and people go, they passed away peacefully in their sleep. Well, no, probably in their dream. That was really fucking horrific and terrifying.
Yeah.
How they died, it was not peaceful at all
Probably
in their
not,
mind.
yeah.
And, so that whole thing is quite disturbing.
Yeah.
And I think that, Freddy Krueger...
Not to upset any people out there that have had people die in their sleep.
Well, look, I'm just saying, probably I reckon a heart attack's the best way to go in terms of what could off you.
Yeah.
Because you probably, won't have to, you'll just be feeling a little bit funny, your chest will be tightening and constricting, and then you're out, you're gone, you pass out.
Yeah.
Blackout completely. Forever.
Right.
But I don't think dying in your sleep is a good way to go for that very reason. And for that very reason, I think that Nightmare on Elm Street is fucking freaky, just in terms of, someone coming into your dreams, and also being able to, I love the psychological idea of like, are you awake or are you sleeping? Trying to stay awake for as long as you can, which in itself makes you go crazy. You literally start hallucinating. Humans were not made to not sleep. So it's like, where do you escape to? So I think that, Nightmare on Elm Street, amazing.
Yeah. And I stayed right the fuck away from it because when I was a kid, the whole issue with watching horror films, it wasn't so much the horror film itself; it was the nightmares that ensued. So watching a film about something that gets you in your dreams, what are you, crazy? Like, keep me. I still don't even know if I've seen the whole movie.
Right.
I've seen bits of it.
You don't need a nightmare about Nightmare on Elm Street.
No, I don't. Nowadays I could watch it. Now I'm just less interested.
Right. Yeah. Now you're just detached from, you just have less passion for life, and so these things affect you much
jaded.
less.
Yeah.
So what's next? What's next for you?
Oh well, look, The Shining. I had to have it in there.
Put it in there.
Had to have it in there. All I've written here is quotable, iconic, thought-provoking, scary. What more do you want?
Good question. Nothing.
Like, it's all in there. So that was why I just kept that one nice and simple. And you've already said it.
Okay. And my fifth pick is another Carpenter film. Halloween. Mm-hmm. Have you seen Halloween?
I've seen bits of it. It's got the guy with the mask on it, Jason.
Oh my God,
Freddy,
Michael Myers.
Michael Myers. That's right, from Austin Powers. Yeah. I'm with you.
So yeah, I picked Halloween because it kind of like it was shot like if you look back at that film, it was shot in a very interesting and different way at the time, which has now become a template. So in fact, like literally again set up a new form of a new part of the genre, the slasher film.
And what is that template though? The template is take a bunch of young beautiful people, kill them off one by one.
Well, yeah,
and then at the end have the bad guy die, but not really 100% die. Like still could maybe be around
to a degree. Although I think it was the characters are quite a lot more well rounded. I mean, essentially, it's about this brother who's been in a mental hospital for 15 years.
He drowns in the lake.
No, that's Friday the 13th, which is directly ripping off.
Right.
Like Halloween started, and then like a year later, Friday the 13th came out.
Right.
But basically, this brother has been in this mental asylum for a long period of time. He escapes on Halloween night and goes looking for his family to kill.
Yeah.
And so, he's off killing. And it's just, the idea of this evil presence. They don't really explain why he's all fucked up. At the beginning of the film, it opens with him killing someone, and then it's all from his point of view. And then it turns around and he's just a little kid. So he basically stabs up someone and he's like 10.
Right.
Which is a great opening for a film and fucking quite freaky. And again, just set the template and tone for what we now come, like there would be no screams, there would be no, I don't know, bloody Valentines, there would be no maybe Friday the 13th, there would be no nothing, because, this kind of concept was kind of laid out in the most perfect way with Halloween.
No Charlie's Farm.
There's no point in referencing Charlie's Farm because no one's really seen that yet. We saw that at the Night of Horror in Sydney.
Night of Horror International Film Festival.
A recently released film, which is basically, again, it's about kind of this crazy hick guy, Charlie.
Big crazy
farm.
Yep.
And it's his farm, and a bunch of kids go out there to hang out to find out the legend of Charlie, and then they get all messed up. We don't recommend it.
But we hope that the makers aren't listening.
I'm probably not too worried about that. So Halloween, that's my fifth pick. I will mention a couple of others, but what's your fifth?
Fifth pick, Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, excellent choice.
Yeah.
Actually forgot about Silence of the Lambs. Yeah. Foolish.
Well, it's just great performances and, interesting concept. Like, a super intelligent cannibal serial killer.
Yep.
Like, what's not to like there?
Well, how long ago did you see it? When was the last time you saw it?
I've seen it. That's one of the ones I've seen more than once. But that was probably...
Do you remember the opening bit of it when she goes into the jail, and do you remember what happens?
Does he go, I can smell you, Clarice?
No, that's a bit later on. Okay, so basically what happens, and I completely forgot about this, but I thought it was so alarming because The Silence of the Lambs was a huge film, hugely successful. Anthony Hopkins won an Oscar for his performance. It was Oscar nominated in a whole bunch of things. But this is just to show you where films are now compared to where they were in, I guess, the early 90s when this came out. At the beginning of the film, she goes to speak with Hannibal Lecter for the first time, and there's a whole bunch of creepy inmates, sort of making lewd calls to her, right? And then when she heads back out, one of them jerks off into his hand and throws his cum, which hits her in the face.
Yeah.
That happened.
Yeah.
In a fucking in an Oscar-winning feature film.
Yeah.
And it was fucking, like, obviously disgusting. And then Hannibal kills that person for his kind of rudeness.
Yeah.
Which I think you only see off camera. You don't actually, you just kind of hear about it.
Yeah.
But it's just like, that would just never... Can you imagine someone getting thrown cum on in the Avengers?
Well, it's a different audience there. I think,
Sure, it's a different audience, but Hannibal was a huge hit as well.
Yeah.
So we're talking about the kind of the
Yeah,
same.
but the Avengers get nominated for Oscars.
No,
No, so you got to compare it to another film that's nominated to Oscars with Oscars, like Monsters Ball, where they're throwing semen at each other,
they're not.
something like that.
But I guess the thing is, that had a super wide release. It made several $100 million. So it's the equivalent of these superhero films, just in terms of the backing of the studio.
Yeah.
And that would just never happen now. So that's a great pick. I just want to mention a couple more in case some film nerds out there attack me if I don't.
Yep.
So I wanted to throw in The Descent. You've seen that, haven't you?
Is that where they're crawling around those
Yes,
caves
in the
all the time,
caves,
all the
yeah.
women?
Yep.
Yep, that was a good film. I
So that
forgot
was
about
good. It was very freaky. It was very unnerving. Had
Original.
Had all those great horror elements. Great sort of down weird ending.
Yeah.
So that was really good. So I just mentioned that, and then I also I would be remiss if I did not mention Alien and Aliens.
Oh, I did enjoy Aliens, although arguably it's a kind of an action,
Well,
action-y war film.
I did want to talk about that because I think Alien, the first one, is fucking scary. But the problem is, again, it set a template of like a monster lurking in the shadows and creeping around and taking people out one by one, which was the scariest thing ever at the time, but now has become diluted over time. 30 years later, because literally everyone copied that, which was what makes it so great. The second one, however, I thought was fucking scary, man. The first half, before it all goes balls to the wall, is fucking freaky. They're creeping around. You got the beep, 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 beep. They take that, but they give it to the Marines, and the aliens are in the walls. Everything's going wrong. They're going around the tunnels. They find the little kid Newt. Like, it's fucking scary, and you got to remember, like, nothing really happens
They mostly come at night. Mostly.
Apparently that girl who plays that, she goes, yeah, probably 3 or 4 people say that to me every day.
Yeah.
Even though she's like 30 now.
Yeah. Well, I loved that film. I just stumbled.
Excellent
It just
film.
came on TV one night when I was like 12 or something, and I watched it and just fucking came in my pants.
Came in your pants a little bit. Well,
Loved it.
me too. And I thought that, but like that, is seen as a bit more of an action film, but the first half is full on fucking horror. And even when she's like fighting the alien queen and stuff, that's fucking freaky shit, man. The face huggers, when she gets locked in with the face hugger on purpose by old
Robot Man?
no, Paul Reiser.
Boss. Yeah, that's
old what was that TV show he did? Mad About You.
Mad About You. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But he was great. He was great as an asshole in that. So that would be my other couple of honourable mentions.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is our top 5.
So that only took up 36 minutes of the show. That's the first topic. Squeeze the rest into this next 20 minutes.
Well, maybe we should do a new section.
All right, what's that?
New section. Now, this is what I do far too often. Is basically I sit around and think up puns for names of things, or more specifically, names of films, but what they would be called if they are pornos. I just do that, like, quite frequently, just for no reason.
I see.
I'm just thinking up names, and then I think of the porno name, and
Productive.
I go, ha ha ha, in my head.
And then I don't tweet it out.
And so, well, there's no point because they're just so dumb.
Yeah.
But
there is point in putting them on the podcast,
but perfect
apparently.
for a new segment. So this segment we call porn names of parodies things.
I'm gonna freaking explode inside you. I'm gonna spill it. I'm gonna fill you up.
I'm gonna fill you up. What? I'm gonna fill you up.
Okay, just let me do the talking.
Did you just make that up then?
Yeah.
That was great.
And that
If that's setting the bar for how good these names are going to be, I'm excited.
well, the little clip that we just played is from MacGruber, which is a very funny scene from a very funny film,
Right.
but probably the most memorable part of the scene, which again you haven't seen,
Which I haven't seen.
and have no idea what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
my ideas are my own, man. I'm not influenced by other people's films.
Okay, so I've got a couple, but what's your first one?
There's Something Inside Mary.
Good. This is for a film I just watched, Inside Llewyn Davis, which I just watched. Inside Lou and Davis. What's the next one?
The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly Bits.
Okay. This is for an obscure John Carpenter film, In the Mouth of Madness. Coming in the Mouth of Madness.
Genius.
I know, I like that one.
The Scat in the Hat.
So that is basically about a guy that shits in hats.
He's the guy who shits in hats.
And that's the kind of a porn thing.
That's what he likes. He shits in hats and he wears them.
And he wears them. Okay. This probably needs no introduction. Pirates of the Fuckabean.
Why didn't you at least say Ass Pirates of the Caribbean?
No, I just wanted Fuckabean. That's all I needed.
Bimbo and Bimboer. It's about two dumb girls that drive around the country fucking people.
Okay. I'm on board for that. This one's a bit of a stretch. Crouching Taint Hidden Dong. Crouching Tiger Hidden Dragon.
Right, okay, we'll move right on. The Brown Mile.
And that segment we like to call porn parody names of movies and things.
Oh, is that finished, is that?
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, did you have more?
Yeah, here we go. We've got Porn of the Dead.
Right.
Harley's Farm.
Lucky we talked about Charlie's Farm previously. So what is this?
Well, what happens on Harley's Farm?
What happens on Harley's Farm? Is it like just like a...
I saw a video online called Mr. Hands.
Right.
And maybe it's like that.
Okay, well look that up if you want to know what Harley is talking about.
And then there's also Dude, Where's My Penis? It stars a post-op transgendered female.
Good, that's good. I like that one. Cool. Well, that's a good one to finish on.
All right.
Next, I wanted to talk a little bit about the creative process.
Okay, this is good.
Now, obviously it's our jobs as filmmakers to think of things and think up things and how do we do it? What is our sort of method? And, I thought I wanted to talk a little bit about, because I survived a zombie holocaust. Now, it was not easy.
No.
It was not easy at all.
And it's continuing to not be easy.
Yeah.
Still going.
And it was so... it was very, very draining, but it also was just incredibly time-consuming. And, like I came out of... I was thinking about this the other day. I kind of came out of it the other side like Luke Skywalker in Return of the Jedi. Mm-hmm. Now, there's a complete change in Luke's character at the opening of Return of the Jedi. He's like quite calm. He's all in black. He's very chilled out. He's like, I'm just going to do this shit and it gets done and that's that. And he's like, I'm not worried. I'm in it with the Rancor. I've got plans and backup plans. I'm just going to fuck everyone up on this barge. And he's just completely changed from this kind of young idealistic boy, which he was in the first two. And it's kind of like, yeah, he's a Jedi now. And that's what I feel like about my filmmaking. It's like, yeah, I am a Jedi director. I'm not a Jedi master. I've still got a long way to go before I ever get to that level. But now I'm a Jedi, right?
Graduated.
But it's also completely scarred me like Luke chopped off his hand chopped off. He found out his dad was the most evil person in the galaxy. And I kind of found out filmmaking was the most evil industry, like the most evil, like, all these things that you love is turned against you. And you kind of go, oh, fuck, this is not what I necessarily thought I was signing up for. And so, I feel like I'm Luke now, and it's like, yeah, I could do this stuff, and I feel confident in my abilities, but a little piece of me is broken inside.
Yeah.
And now how do I sort of repair that and get back on track with the next thing? And so, for me, what happened with the zombie film is, I just got progressively busier and busier and busier. So, we're talking obviously 16-hour days and stuff when we're in production. But then after, and when we were in post-production, I was also working full-time. So, I was doing sort of 40 hour plus weeks, and then I would go do film stuff, and I would sort of, I'd go to my night shift, then I'd go to my day work on the film, then at the end I'd do some little bits and pieces, and then, sort of each day off I was like, well, maybe, maybe if I just like stay up all of my first day off and I don't sleep, I do a quick 30 hours, then my second day off, I'm going to have some free time and I just chill out, I'll just relax. And I'd kind of make these deals and pacts with myself, and then inevitably the second day would come and I would just end up doing a whole bunch more stuff for the film. And that would just go on and on and on for weeks and weeks and weeks and months. And, I think that, like, looking back on that, I was kind of close to a breakdown. Because what had happened is I'd just stopped absorbing things creatively. I'd stopped, enjoying the thing I was doing. Had stopped me enjoying it anymore. I was not enjoying my work making the film, and then I was not having any time to enjoy films or anything, because I didn't really have time to watch movies. I'd sometimes watch like maybe half an hour of a film and then fall asleep, and kind of try and watch bits of films that would take me sort of days and days just to kind of watch a film. I'd stop reading entirely, so I literally hadn't read a book in maybe half a year, maybe more. And I was just, and I also just stopped having ideas. So normally for me, when I'm, I'm always thinking of, stories and ideas for films, whether it's features, shorts, or comedy bits that we're going to do. I'm always just, the mind's ticking over, and I'm sort of thinking about like, okay, what's the next thing? And I used to, have this wealth of ideas for new movies, and I just stopped having ideas for movies, and I was kind of like, fuck, am I like just going to have to rely on the well of ideas that I already have? Am I just going to not have new ideas? And I stopped liking horror films. Like we just talked about horror films. I just completely stopped enjoying horror films. I would get hung up on the idea that people were getting killed. I couldn't move past the idea that when someone died, the story just continued. Like I was like, no, he's dead. Guys, he's dead. This is you can't just progress past this point. He's gone. Don't you get it? Mm-hmm. And so I kind of had just developed all these kind of mental blocks. And I think it was all just, creative burnout, and just not having that time for myself. To think of things, and now that everything's gotten a bit quieter, I've slowly started to do all those things. I've been watching films, I've been playing video games, I've been reading books, and I think that all of those things have just slowly come back to me, and now I'm having ideas all the time. I just thought of a sort of a fully formed idea for a feature film like maybe 2 weeks ago, just completely came to me just like that, just the whole thing, just the whole story, just pretty well laid out. Like if you said sit down and write it now, I could write it to its finish and not have any issues, I don't think. And none of this stuff was just happening to me. And I guess what I learned from that is like, hey, you got to take some time for yourself. And I think for me, I actually find reading and video games is actually more creatively inspiring for me than sometimes watching films. Because when I watch films, I just break them down. I just break down all the elements, and I go, they did this shot this way, this way, this way. That's a good this, that's a bad that, whatever. And it becomes a little bit clinical. And sometimes, if the film's really good, I will forget about all those things, and I will stop counting the number of setups for a scene or whatever it is. But whereas when I'm reading or I'm playing a game, I don't have any of those things. I'm not trying to mentally deconstruct it. So, I've been reading all these great books recently, and I've been playing sort of these story-based video games, which I thought were really interesting and inspiring, and I can only attribute sort of that sort of stuff to sort of being creatively inspired again. And so for me, I think it's about absorbing and being open to this stuff will make you in turn sort of be creative again. And that's for me, that's how I work. What about you?
Smoke a big doobie.
You see yin and yang.
No, so like, well, I do find weed to be creatively, quite stimulating.
Well, I did actually want to talk about that because you that is one of the, and you recommend this to me. It didn't really work for me because I didn't try this. You were like, man, I'm getting blazed. I'm just writing. I'm just thinking of stuff. It's just fucking amazing, bro.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I don't know if that's going to work for me, and I also don't know if that's really working for you, or if you're just getting fucking high and writing bullshit.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, you got to write, a lot of bullshit.
That's true.
To get those
the
gems
real
out.
shit. I agree.
So no, like what I actually think is like when I run out of ideas for poems, or because I've got my poems that I write, I've got my stand-up comedy that I'm still writing bits and pieces for that as well. Some of it I've also just got like random kind of ideas that I write that sometimes get turned into maybe a long rant status update on Facebook or something like that.
Beat.
Or whatever it is that I'm working on. But if sometimes I just run out of ideas, I just don't have anything, just nothing's coming,
That's when it's time to call the weed man.
No, actually,
okay.
What I was going to say is that is when I find the best thing I can do is get out of my comfort zone a little bit. So go for a walk, but to somewhere I've never been before.
Okay.
Or go and do something I wouldn't normally do, like maybe go to the cinema and watch a movie, which is something very unusual for me.
Very foreign.
Or just usually I just go for a walk, to be honest.
Yep.
And I just find that gets the old creative juices flowing. Just seeing things, seeing people that I'd never see. Otherwise, if I hadn't left the house that day, just getting out and seeing a bunch of stuff and getting inspired that way. And I often find that some of my best ideas come to me when I'm walking places, like when I'm walking to work. I'll be working on my poems. I look like a crazy person because I walk down K Road with my big beard and my hairy shoulders out, talking to myself,
ranting to yourself.
And I'm not actually talking to myself. I'm doing a poem or something like that.
Right.
But the untrained eye, they don't see. Oh, look at that poet! No, look at that poet walking past.
Look at that young budding James K. Baxter.
They just go, who's that crazy, ranting,
like,
hairy homeless man?
They're like, he's a little bit too young to be homeless, but I feel like he could be in a few years.
He's on his way.
That's interesting. Obviously the shower's always a good one.
Yeah, it used to be for me. I used to get, all sorts of ideas in the shower, and then I just got distracted, I guess.
Well, that's what I always say. I do some of my best thinking in the shower. I also do some of my best wanking.
So there you go. It's this multitasking kind of place. It's anything can happen in there.
Yeah, I
used to find it more inspiring though. Really, I don't know. The ideas just strike me in the shower.
Well, I will say that it did seem though that you were going through like a weed inspiration period there for a while, where you seemed to smoke a fat old J and then fucking actually do some writing for a couple of hours.
Yeah,
have your music blasting and do some writing for a few hours. And that was working for you.
Yeah, it really was. It really, really was. But I guess like anything, my experience with weed was that I didn't really get into it until I was 28, which is quite a late bloomer for weed smokers. I feel like a lot of weed smokers get into it a lot younger.
Yeah.
So at 28, I had that creative sort of, splurge that most people got when they were, 16 or 17, smoking weed and writing shit down. I hadn't had that yet. Okay. So it hit me at 28, Right. And so it was great. I'd sit there, I'd smoke something, and I'd just write this stuff. And I did some things like I started a Tumblr account and got like I was happy with the amount of followers I got and stuff. I sort of like built this whole other separate audience that was kind of my alter ego, which was
your weed alter ego.
My weed alter ego.
Like you were like a superhero whose power is transformed. Like when Green Lantern puts on his ring, you smoke a big joint and become this man with these powers.
Yalra McGinty.
And these powers of writing.
Yalra McGinty. That's my
well, unfortunately,
alter ego.
I tried, I was like, hey, he's getting some stuff done. He's never been like this before.
Yeah.
And I was like, then maybe there's something to it. So I did take you up, but basically what I found is when I would smoke weed, I would feel obviously high. Mm-hmm. I would feel that kind of clouded my intelligence rather than spoon it on, you know. And I also would get hungry for McDonald's.
Yeah.
And kind of a little bit sleepy.
Yeah.
And so
Sleepy and horny.
So, yeah, exactly. So that didn't really result in like
an evening of whacking off and eating McDonald's.
Yeah, exactly. It was really going nowhere for me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is, you've still got to sit down and force yourself to write. You know, it's still. Well,
that's
it's still something you got to sit down and force yourself to do.
I did get really high and like write an episode or something, and I looked at it the next day and I was like, yeah, this is like not as sharp as it could be. You know,
because what I'd do is I'd write high and edit straight.
Yeah,
you know,
sure.
go back, fix it up. That's how you do it.
So that's your recommendation for people if they're looking for that creative spark.
If you're looking for that creative spark, try going for a walk. That's the healthy option.
Okay,
you know, see if that works. Just get out of your comfort zone, and if that doesn't work, spark up a fatty. So yeah, that's that.
Okay. Well, so there are, but I also do think it's important to like, because what can happen, especially when you're a filmmaker, is you get into the film world too deeply, and that's why I think, you know, for me, it's the reading, it's the other stuff. It's also talking to people, as you said. I read, like, just getting different perspectives is really helpful, and just hearing people tell stories which you can steal.
I also get quite inspired by documentaries and by reading articles. Quite often, an article like about a real life sort of topic, you know, like it could be about space or something that I'm interested in, and I'll read this, and that will inspire me, and then I won't feel too bad about being inspired by it either, because I'm still being inspired by real life. It's not like I'm watching someone else's movie and then, you know, building on their idea.
Right.
It's, you know, it's reality that I'm building on.
Well, I think the film watching thing is that you can become, and I know quite a few of these people, I think, who kind of just watch like fucking, I don't know, 3 or 4 films, you know, every day almost. They're watching a film a day, and they're just lost in this world of being a filmmaker and making films, and it's completely detached from reality and what you normies are interested in and what you can relate to, and you're just kind of talking about, you have a language of film, but the language of film is not at all relatable to anyone else, and you're kind of like, and you almost see it as a badge of honor. You're like, yeah, I watched fucking 5 films today. Yeah, I can tell you, you know, which Godfather is the best and why, and I can do all these things, and I know all these things, and I lord it over people, but I'm writing kind of stuff that is either kind of a rip-off or a knock-off of all the shit that I'm watching, or B, is just kind of mental and not really what people, you know, what a casual audience viewer is going to want to or be interested in, because it's so specific. You become way too specific. So, you know, that's not the answer. That is not the answer, dear filmmakers. I don't think, anyway. You've got what's this? You do have a note here that says pre-ejaculation.
Oh, you don't bring that. That was just for. That was
for predestination.
It was just a potential, but I kind of put all the shit ones down below where I didn't intend to use them.
Oh, right.
So thanks for reading out my note, which was never going to make it onto the podcast. The movie Predestination potentially could have been pre-ejaculation.
Yeah,
but it's too bad.
Right.
Too terrible.
I thought it was okay.
Too terrible. But thanks for that. Stop reading my notes. You did this last time. Speaking of last time, you mentioned in the last podcast that you thought you heard me wake up from a nightmare. You heard me.
Right. Yeah.
I've been thinking about this.
Yep.
You said that I woke up like panting, and then I went to the toilet afterwards. And I had been thinking about this, and I'm pretty certain that you did just hear me coming.
Now, I thought that was a possibility, right?
I don't feel like I remember waking up from any nightmares.
Okay, but this was at 4 a.m.
Oh.
Okay.
Well, I was very unlikely to be coming at 4 a.m.
That's exactly what I
I'm
thought.
a lazy comer.
Yeah, so
I'm not gonna
I
do it
did
at 4 a.m.
I was doing my due diligence of detective.
Yeah, right.
When I thought about this, because that would have been my go-to.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I was a little bit surprised.
But because it was at 4 a.m., I was
Yeah.
like, he had to be waking from a dream
Yeah.
because there's no way he's going to be having sex with his poor girlfriend at this hour.
Well, the thing is, if it was 4 a.m. and I got up to go to the toilet,
Yeah.
and I don't recall it at all.
Yeah.
Did I sleep naked? Did I put on any sort of garment or something like that? Or was I just on autopilot just walking around the house naked?
Well, I can't answer that because I
never know.
I didn't open my door. But yeah. So we've cleared that up. It wasn't you coming.
Okay.
Not this time.
Not this time.
Not this time. Not tonight. Okay. So our final topic, I think, is pro wrestling. We got a question from Shane Simpson who asked, is pro wrestling the same or better or worse than reality TV?
He asked if it's more or less fake.
Fake, right.
Which is more fake, reality TV or wrestling?
Easy answer to that. Reality TV is
Wrestling.
more fake. Reality TV is far more fake because wrestling is not purporting to be real.
Yeah.
Whereas reality TV is calling itself reality TV but is completely scripted. Mm-hmm. Now, back in the 1980s, when pro wrestling was kayfabing, as the expression used, which is basically pretending it's real, and you had this situation apparently where basically anytime someone said, "I think wrestling's fake," the wrestlers had to basically fight these people to protect the business and say no, it's real. And there's this famous clip of that guy getting put in a headlock, which cost that was a huge lawsuit, by the way, but basically he was like, yeah, it's all fake, isn't it? And he's like, is this fake? And he gets him in this headlock and he's basically killing this tiny scrawny journalist, really crushing him, right? And I think they lost millions of dollars over that, but like that was the pro wrestling, that was the wrestlers' idea of protecting the business at that time. In the early 90s, there was a sort of a big steroid scandal, but around that time they were like, look, of course it's fucking fake. Yes, this is sports entertainment. This is just a sort of, a form of kind of live theatre in a way. And I guess it does bother me when people say, well, is it, it's fake, right? Yes, I fucking know it's fake. Everyone knows it's fake. Wrestling knows it's fake. This is not 1980. No one is saying that this is real. However, there is a big difference between the idea that wrestling is fake is like everything is scripted. Everyone knows who's going to win or lose, right? That is 100% true. What is not true is the idea that these people are not hurting themselves every night. If you fall down on your back on a kind of a hard wood mat 100 times in a day, right, and you know how to fall, and it's got a little spring in it, that is still fucking sore. Okay, people have what they call, in wrestling, they call your bump card. And your bump card is basically every time a bump is when you fall on your back, right? When you get to a certain point, they say your bump card's used up. That's when wrestlers start to have these major neck surgeries and problems, which require people getting wheelchair bound, people having vertebrae fusion, stuff like that. And it is a really tough, grueling business that is incredibly hard on people's bodies. Yes, it's scripted, but these people are hurting themselves to entertain.
Well, I'm not a fan of wrestling at all, and still, it's can't be denied that those guys are really doing those flips and that jumping around and jumping off high things. When they get put through those tables, sure, they're not necessarily the most sturdy tables, but it's still getting put through a table there, and you're still getting slammed off the fucking top rope and all that stuff. These are still athletes that you're watching, athletes at the top of their game, in fact. So it's fake in the sense that it's scripted, but it's real in the sense that they are doing these stunts. And so reality TV, on the other hand, well, that shit's just all fake, all scripted, cut casted. The whole thing.
And
Reality
the scenarios
TV
are
is so
invented.
terrible.
Yeah.
And then the editing is where the story's really told. They just go out and film some crap, and then they can go, oh yeah, we'll add a little bit of bad music over this girl and make it look there's a bit of a scandal here between these two, and we'll cut back to him. This guy actually didn't even know he's being filmed, and he's just looking away, but we'll just cut back to him now and make it look like he's ignoring her, and it's a farce. And if you believe in any reality TV shows as being real, well, you need to do some research, man.
Well, it's kind of ridiculous. They have what's called, in wrestling, they got Total Divas, which is a reality show, which is about some of the hot chicks of wrestling, basically. Mm-hmm. And you can even tell it's faker than the pro wrestling stories they're involved in. They're so contrived and ridiculous. That it is insulting. And and I think there was a question, favorite pro wrestler. I'll let you answer that.
This was from Shane Simpson.
Yeah, he wanted to know.
This was a question from Shane Simpson.
Who's your favourite pro wrestler?
Who also asked the reality TV one.
Of all time.
Well, I mean, I was always... it's got to be one of the 80s ones. Okay. Because that was when I was watching, early 90s.
Yep.
I was a big fan of... who was there? Dusty Rhodes.
Really?
Jake the Snake.
Yep.
I was always a big fan of. I was a big fan of the Bushwhackers. I liked them.
Yeah.
And Hulk Hogan, obviously.
You look
like
exactly like one. In fact, we should do a especially at the moment because you've got this really massive beard. But basically, you look like Bushwhacker Luke or Bushwhacker Butch or whatever the hell they were called. And we should probably get a photo. We'll get a photo of a Bushwhacker and a photo of you on the other side. I think it would be good. I think it would be good for Facebook.
Right, cool. Just keep an eye out for that, dear listener.
So, who was your favourite Hulkster?
Yeah, I guess it would be Hulk Hogan. I was always stoked to see him and hulking up. I always liked him more than like the Ultimate Warrior and stuff like that. Right, Randy Savage.
Yeah, see, the problem I had with Hulk Hogan, all his matches were the same. Yeah. So I was like, get beat down.
Hulk's up.
Big comeback at the end. Hulk's up, leg drop, big boot.
Yeah, but everyone wanted to see that Hulk up at the end.
The listening, putting their hand to the ear.
Yeah.
I agree. And I was a Hulkamaniac myself for a period of time. But at some point, it's that thing of like scripted, not scripted. But it's like, you're like, I know this formula of this match so well that I'm fucking completely over it.
Yeah.
Whereas, someone like Macho Man Randy Savage, who I would say was my favorite of that era, is he could actually really wrestle and tell different stories in the ring. It wasn't just the same thing over and over again. And I think also his personality, in fact, you can hear Macho Man, may he rest in peace, in our opening in our opening intro to the Guy and Harley podcast. There's a couple of his quotes in there. So I was a huge Macho fan. I just loved this character. And then progressing forward to sort of the next era, because there's been sort of three big eras that I've lived through, because I'm now 32, right? And I started watching in the 80s and then sort of came back to it in the 90s and now kind of sporadically watch it still. So, that's a lot of people have come and gone. Like Hulk Hogan is 60.
Yeah.
Hulk Hogan is 60 years old. Macho Man is dead.
Yeah.
He died at 58 of a heart attack.
Yep.
He's just been inducted to the Hall of Fame this year.
Andre the Giant.
Andre's gone.
So
he was the first to go, but that was on account of his
binge drinking.
No,
his excessive drinking.
No, his gigantism. Like it was a thing that they can now cure. They remove this gland and it stops you from growing. But basically, he just keep growing and growing. Your heart gets too big, you just die.
Right.
Basically, and he knew that. Yeah. And he used to drink like sort of. Like ridiculous amounts all the time because one, he was in pain, but two, he was like, I'm going out soon, so I don't give a fuck.
Yeah,
just do whatever I want to do. So anyway, so in the next two eras, I would say Shawn Michaels. Do you know Shawn Michaels?
No.
Excellent, just all round pro wrestler. And then in this era, most recently, CM Punk.
Right.
Do you know who CM Punk is?
Yeah, I'm familiar with him, but only because of you.
What I like about CM Punk is he's not your typical wrestler. He's like just a tattooed guy that, has an interesting moveset. He can talk really well on the microphone. He's now going into UFC. He's going to try and do some Ultimate Fighting. We'll see how that goes. But, he was just kind of like an interesting new dynamic to wrestling, which, was very rarely seen. Plus, he was very anti-authority. And again, some of the statements that he made sort of about the company he was working for, I could just identify with and in terms of the film that I was making at the time and the people I was working for. So that's our other segment, and we're now probably at time to say goodbye. We didn't even have time for Twitter.
No Twitter, no poem.
Well, you could do a poem. You got a poem lined up.
I do have a little one.
Shit, I was hoping you'd say no.
That's why you do Twitter.
No. Let's listen to a poem.
I do have a little one, but the issue is when we're leaving it to the end of a podcast this long, nobody's listening anymore.
No.
Everyone keeps missing my poems.
I don't think so. I think they're just not talking about them. So what do you got for us?
Oh, this is just a little one.
Okay.
All right. Goes like this. It's called The Dawn. Goes like this. It's time to wake up. Oh, it would be nice to refuse the truth, to hide under this warm, comforting blanket, never to peek out again. Alas, I'm awake, and the monster under the bed is just in my head. I need to get up and put my feet on the cold floor. Oh, it would be nice to close my eyes, to dream a little longer, to hit snooze on life. But the dawn is beautiful, and I cannot bring myself to miss it. So while the rest of you sleep, I'll pay reality a visit. And that's it.
That's all right. I mean, you're not... is that, what's the meaning behind that one?
Yeah, it was definitely not about being in bed.
Right.
Yeah.
I gathered as much.
Yeah. Well, it's about people finding... It was sort of about people preferring comforting lies to uncomfortable realities, sit there and snuggle away in your bed and just not face reality and not open your eyes and not put your feet on the cold floor, It's sort of about... I mean, obviously I'm a big anti-theist. It's obviously that's part of the theme anti-religion and people sort of hiding behind their delusions. But it's not just about that. It's also about just the general human condition where we deny certain truths that we find to be painful. So, you as a meat eater, for example, on the one hand are an intelligent person that understands the effect it's having on the world, the industry, and you understand the animal cruelty aspect of it, and
got some free range chicken today.
Oh, that's good. And so
before you go any further,
so your brain understands, you understand the cost, and yet there's that cognitive dissonance because your actions are not reflected in what you know to be the truth there, and so you're sort of it's a defense mechanism that we all have, which is your brain helps you just deny the truth and just not look at it, and that's kind of what that poem is about. We've got to wake up. We as a species need to wake up, and we need to put our feet on the cold floor and realize the monster under the bed isn't there. It's just us. We need to get up, face reality, face the day. So that's sort of what that's about. And
I like it.
You like it now?
Yeah, I don't mind it.
I actually think we all do have that though.
Yes.
That defense mechanism, because if we didn't, right, we'd all be freaking the fuck out about the fact that we're going to die one day. If we couldn't all sort of deny and push to the back of our mind the things that bother us, we would be just freaking the fuck out all day about it. Think about the first sort of primate that evolved to become self-aware and realize that he was going to die one day. The first primate that wasn't just walking around on autopilot eating bananas and shit. He was sitting on a rock wondering why he was here. That first primate, that first kind of one that made the transition into being self-aware and realizing that one day he's going to die, he must have flipped the fuck out before we had that defense mechanism of pushing it to the back of your brain.
But surely he did have that, and he was like,
but does an animal have it? Because an animal...
Animal's not self-aware, and that is not aware of its mortality.
Exactly. So imagine the first time that we made that transition to becoming self-aware and realizing
but that's what I think, is that the first time that happened, the first delusion was created. So the first time that monkey guy thought that, his next thought was...
But it won't happen to me.
Or there's a place for me that goes beyond when I bury my brother monkeys and sisters, and that's where I'm going. As part of another thing.
But from an evolutionary purpose, where did that, in his mind, that defense mechanism, that sort of I am going to deny the fact that I'm going to die one day, where did that come from? It had to develop, presumably.
Well, I just think they probably would have developed in tandem, because,
makes sense. Otherwise, he'd be running around flipping the fuck out. The whole species, just a species of madmen.
And they probably would have killed him for acting crazy all the time.
Right.
Yeah. Shit, we took a dark turn.
We did.
We better go into this Twitter segment
are we still doing Twitter? Look.
Yeah, look, it's fine, man. This is a podcast. We can go as long as we like.
All right.
So this is our Twitter segment. So I'm just going to play the theme song. Twitter. So this is a good one, which kind of relates to what we were just talking about. Hipsters is what happens when you tell every child they're special.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you on that one.
This is from Wise Guy Pictures. If my life ever flashes before my eyes, it's going to be a pathetic montage of me pretending to check my phone in various places.
That's good too.
This is. I mean, you must know about this too. Jon Stewart leaving the Daily Show so soon after Colbert ended feels like when those old couples are so close they have to die together. No, know anything about that?
Yeah, he's leaving.
Okay. This is related to that, Jon Stewart leaving the Daily Show. Stewart wouldn't hurt so much if Colbert hadn't just left. Colbert wouldn't have hurt so much if I was an actual adult accepting of change. It's from Matt Fowler. What else we got? Oh yeah, here we go. This is from John Gabris. Porn gives men unrealistic expectations when it comes to sex and women. Imagine my dismay when my girl can't give me an underwater BJ. This is from Sugar and Spice. Sorry to hear you ran out of storage space on your iPad, kid. You ever untangle a cassette tape and wind it back up with a pencil? Shut up.
It's true. It's old man shit right there.
This is from Eli Roth, director. If you ever see me and I'm talking to myself like a crazy person, it's because I am. This one's from director Terrence Malick, and I don't really think it is because I don't think he has a Twitter. Okay, so Knight of Cups has divided critics. Good. If I could, I'd divide critics with a motherfucking chainsaw. Fair enough.
Well, though, they've been fairly kind to us.
Yes. This one's from Tim Ferriss. Anyone who lives within their means suffers from a lack of imagination, which is an Oscar Wilde quote. This is from me, Guy Pigden.
Who?
I enjoy cutting people late at night and I'm not afraid to exercise brutality. Hashtag editing.
I see what you did there. I got one.
Yep.
I hired 3 men and a baby the other day. We had a nice time. That's from Harley Neville.
That's good. This is from Patrick Castles. The Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor goes to Ethan Hawke's dad moustache. Boyhood. He has a dad moustache in it. You don't know anything about that because you haven't seen the film.
Yep.
Go. You don't have one? I've got another one.
Yep, go.
This is from John Boyer. If I had $1 for every time women found me unattractive, they'd eventually find me attractive.
I see there.
Yeah. This is from Furry Pesto. I'm artsy, which means I'm bad at everything.
From at Harley Neville. I'm not a ladies' man anymore. I'm just with one woman. I'm a lady man.
That's nice. One more. I have to go back into work because I left my sweater there, but I already said bye to everyone. So to avoid awkwardness, I'm going to quit.
At Harley Neville, if we killed off every animal on Earth, do you think people would go vegetarian or start eating each other?
Is that just a question?
Just a question. Just wondering.
Just a philosophical tweet.
Yeah, just for the record, I'm not actually a vegetarian.
Right.
I do eat meat. Just not too much of it.
All right. And that has been the Twitter section. Tweet it.
No one is listening now. So thank you very much, everybody.
Don't be ridiculous.
Don't be ridiculous.
So if you want to chime in with some questions, got some ideas for the next podcast, we are, I'm at GPeasy.
I'm at Harley Neville.
Or you can hotmail us.
Pigville Productions at hotmail.com or add us on Facebook, Pigville Productions. And anything you give us, we will turn into content and we'll probably give you a little plug as well.
And please, again, if you could give us a 5-star on iTunes so we can start our ascension into not this costing us money all the time. Or at least just having a few more listeners. That's probably really what I'm aiming for. Thank you very much.
Goodbye. You've been listening to the Guy and Harley podcast, proudly brought to you by Pigville Productions.
Laugh it up, fuzzball.